In today's Street Signs What If, we wonder what if we got rid of cash. After all, cash is what keeps terrorists, drug dealers, and gun dealers in business. Could a move to a cashless economy around the world help America? Here now the man with a plan. He wrote about it in Saturday's New York Times, an op-ed called Turn In Your Bin Ladens, as opposed to Benjamin's Yes. Joining us now is Jonathan Lepeau, Associate Professor of Economics at the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California. Great to see you, Jonathan. We really appreciate your taking the time. This op-ed caught our attention on Saturday morning, and we wanted to call you right away. So I guess the first question is, we had looked up on the Federal Reserve. There's about $1 trillion U.S. cash dollars floating around the world. The majority of them, according to the Fed, is outside the United States. What's most of this used for?
Well, a good portion of this money is used for transactions in other countries where their local currencies are, weak or not to be trusted. Not all the money that's floating abroad is necessarily money that's being used for illicit or illegal activity. Countries in the third world depend a lot on the U.S. dollar as a means of exchange in the day-to-day economy. However, one can be certain that at least half of the funds involved are indeed being used for gang activity, criminal activity.
At least half. And how important is cash, and in particular the U.S. dollar, which ironically, of course, is the country and the currency that terrorists want to bring down the most? How much of terrorist activity is funded through dollars?
Oh, we don't know that.
But I guess from the point of your op-ed would be, it's important enough to people like the Taliban or Al-Qaeda that we need to get rid of the cash concept.
That's right. We know that insurgents use cash. However, not necessarily the U.S. dollar. They use euros. They use Afghanis in Afghanistan. They use dinars in Iraq. It's not exclusively an issue that relates to the U.S. dollar.
And you know what, to that point I wanted to follow up with you because, we always think about the U.S. dollar because it still is the fiat currency for the world. Obviously, it's perhaps the most important. But the euro has a 500 euro note now, which obviously means you can have a lot more money in a smaller space if you're trying to smuggle or hand it off in a briefcase. So has the euro become even more important than the dollar, do you think, or not yet?
It's not as important as the dollar, and recent events may be damaging the euro's reputation, but it's certainly having a growing presence in terms of global crime and insurgency. You see more and more activity with euros. I would mention that the former chief economist at the IMF, Ken Rogoff, criticized the European Central Bank for issuing the 500 euro note. Yeah. His argument was that it's actually a note designed to compete for the business of, drug dealers and terrorists. Well,
I would imagine for most normal transactions that we all would think of at this point, you're not using that size money. And I know, as you noted in your op-ed, the Treasury stopped issuing $500 notes back in 1969. So your solution is, let's get rid of the cash, and that would cut off a lot of the illicit activity out there, and certainly a lot of the funding for terrorists, et cetera. So how do we do that practically?
Well, the beauty of cash is that it's very easy to make transactions, small transactions. We don't use cash anymore to buy a house or a car. Nobody wants to walk around with a suitcase full of money, but you still use cash to buy a Coke at a vending machine, or pay your parking at a parking vending machine at a meter. You still use cash for these things, because the cost of making a transaction like that electronically is simply too large relative to the size of the transactions involved.
But we don't. However, for things like tolls, right? I mean, so it could be done.
First of all, it certainly could be done, and with tolls you see a very powerful example of how, as technology improves, our ability to toll efficiently without using cash has gotten better. 30 or 40 years ago, toll booths were a cause of congestion, as people would back up and be fiddling with their coins. And now you just drive right through with one of these fast pass magnetic technologies. These technologies are making it possible to do these kind of transactions at smaller and smaller scale all the time.
And the bottom line is, quickly before we go, if we did come up with something, I don't know whether it's linked to your fingerprint or your social security number, whatever it might be, I guess in a sense you're going a national ID card sort of way, but it would require banks, right, to agree on a language around the world, so it would work everywhere.
Ideally, you would have a single standard worldwide. Those can be very difficult to arrange. You certainly do need to have national standards, and there are a number of countries that have moved in that direction. Singapore, was an early adopter of these kind of technologies, has been working towards a national standard that would allow them to completely eliminate cash.
Well,
there are
John,
a few other countries.
And I know there's countries like South Africa, which we would encourage everyone to go to the New York Times website and read Jonathan's op-ed, Turn in Your Bin Ladens. And in the meantime, everyone, let us know what you think. Do you think we should get rid of cash? And would you be willing to do it if it meant you had some sort of a national biometric or ID card? Email us, let us know. Streetsigns@cnbc.com. And Jonathan, thanks again.
Thank you very much.